modem. I'm sure that's shocking to all of you. Okay. Um, who has control? Maria, you can turn the control, I guess, over to me right now if you would like to sign off, or just leave it running on the background there. Okay, well, we'll go forward. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And I note from the calendar that this is likely to be Tony's last meeting as we take attendance here. He has decided not to renew his application for the committee, and I want to thank him for his time, being able to squeeze it in while he's also doing work. So, Tony, if you want to say any final words, give us words of advice as we continue with what we've got to do in the next month or two. I give the floor to you for a couple of seconds.
All right, I appreciate your kind words. I've enjoyed serving on this committee, and although I won't be on a committee for the upcoming year, you all have my contact information. If there's any way I can help out with anything going forward, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I've enjoyed working with you all. Great group, great competencies, great work ethic. I'm sure the group will continue to do well.
Okay. Thank you for your good wishes.
Thank you for all your hard work, Tony.
Thank you for your help.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And I did amend the minutes to reflect that in a much more graceful sentence.
Okay. Thank you. And Wendy, if the attendance is, we have a full complement today, so you can note that.
Yep, got it.
And once again, we are on, let me just check. I thought, yes, we are on Bourne TV. So I believe we are live. So there'll be a recording of that will go up. And with that, I'd like to start going through minutes, and I apologize. I've had a very busy few days here, and by the time I opened the computer last night, I didn't have the energy to go through them. I realize that Wendy is also under other personal and other pressures, so she was delayed in producing these minutes. But I'll entertain any other comments that anybody has for meetings on the 30th or our meeting last week.
Okay.
I got through the minutes of the meeting on the 30th. I don't have any comments on that one. I wasn't able to get around to opening up the one on the 13th. I spent a lot of my time going through Brian's email yesterday. That's kind of where my time went.
Yeah.
I got about halfway through that document last night.
Which one?
The challenge, the bead challenge guidelines.
Yeah.
Which are
very. So as far as the minutes go, unless we have other people that have read them, we might want to put it off. I don't know how other people feel about it.
Well, for what it's worth, the old open meeting laws say that we don't have we don't have any more time to approve the ones from the 13th. We have to have them posted within 30 days. And
Well, that's a guideline. It's not a requirement.
Well, all right. But you know how there are people who would be very happy to nail us on that. I'm sorry I didn't get them out sooner. I was pushing send and nothing was happening. Our entire internet in our house went down for about an hour and a half yesterday.
Maybe we just clear them really quick and just browse through them so Wendy can start handling the press, because I know we got a lot lot to cover, and
yeah, I would like to get those out to.
Why don't you just
stuff there that the press should read.
Well, I guess I would agree if we want to take the time now to read up one on the 30th to approve that one.
Yes, let's do the 30th and get through that.
I can put it up on the screen here, so let me.
Okay.
See where we are here. That's the 13th. You want the 13th?
No, the 30th.
Yeah,
the older one.
That's what I'm looking for here. I did put it here. Damn it all. Stand by. Put away a bunch of this crap here.
Okay, I think I've got it.
Yeah, I got it here.
Yeah, I just read through them. They look fine to me. I don't see anything glaring.
I got down as far as Jen Brand's discussion. And, I know plaintively that she said the media kit then was going to be out next week. And
And then next
still not.
week, and then next week, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That's new business or ongoing business.
Yeah. I'm sorry I'm not getting this coming up where
I
I
can
want it.
bring it up if you want. Give me a second.
Yes,
Yeah,
John,
why
go
don't
ahead,
you?
please.
Okay, let me just do that. I gotta find the share screen thing. Here we go. And I think this is it. Yeah, there you go.
Bob's your uncle. Great.
Yep, that would be it.
Okay. I apologize for the background noise. I'm having some work done on the outside of the house.
Not a problem here.
I had chainsawing outside my house yesterday.
Yeah, we're replacing some 40-year-old siding.
Ah, nice.
My sympathies to your checkbook.
Yeah,
Really.
basically it.
Yeah, these minutes look fine. I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah.
Maybe that
I go down to the second page here.
Yes.
it says
Okay.
copay instead of co-fund, but I don't. But the minutes have to reflect what was said, so I don't remember if someone said copay or co-fund.
I'm sorry, where is that?
Gap round 2, but I don't remember
Oh.
if someone said that used copay instead of co-fund interchangeably.
Yeah, I come from
The medical
Yeah.
world.
medical,
Yeah,
so
that's-
that just came out my fingertips. I'll fix it. Okay, done.
Yeah, otherwise looks fine.
Yep, looks fine to me.
Okie
Yeah.
dokie.
Looks good.
Motion to approve.
I will get those out.
Okay, Brian makes a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, John seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nobody is opposed, so that passes unanimously. Okay, let me bring up the agenda here.
Public correspondence. I haven't gotten
Yes.
any.
No, and go ahead, John.
Well, that's funny because my wife responding to the Bourne Facebook page, and I think Wendy, you did too. Some woman who a resident who apparently recently got files was complaining that it wasn't working right, and that she had called Verizon and they wanted $100 and some odd to send someone
Yeah.
out.
Just a quick question here, John.
Yeah,
Did we get official correspondence on this?
that was the
No.
thing. The person was supposed to correspond.
Yeah, but
My
did we
wife
get it?
suggested they correspond, and I'm just saying we hadn't. If you didn't get anything, she didn't. My wife suggested, why don't you write to the cable committee, and there's the link, and maybe they can point you in the right direction.
No, I didn't get
Really?
anything separately from her. I remember the discussion though.
Right. I have a feeling that her problem might be her wireless router and extender because
It could
normally,
be.
Yeah.
Could be.
normally
I don't-
Verizon can troubleshoot right to your ONT remotely. They
Yeah.
don't need to send anybody.
Mhm.
So
Right,
So
normally,
I don't-
we
I
haven't
don't think
received
we-
any official or
We
correspondence.
got
We
nothing
shouldn't
official,
address
so
it
we're
under
gonna,
it.
yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna
Okay.
move on.
just
We can deal with the
Gotta move
ongoing
on.
issue. No one exists. We exist later, but let's just move on because we have a lot to
Yeah.
cover.
I did receive one official email from the Falmouth MLP. Bob asked me to check with them to see if they were doing anything with respect to the speed challenge process, and what I got back was not that they know of.
Okay.
I will say we did get one other one, Bob. We got an email from Colin McFarland, I think, from MBI. And he had responded to a number of the questions that we brought up in our call.
Okay.
Do we have those handy?
Yes, I do. If you want me to go through that.
Yeah, we ought to bring those up and take a look.
Okay.
Maybe we know it is not fully responsive. They've responded to some of the questions.
Well, depends on what you clarify as respond. They did respond.
We're in agreement on this concept.
Okay, they
Like
did
with
respond.
prayer,
Now, whether they
sometimes
said
the answer
anything
is
useful,
no.
yeah,
Yes.
whether their response was substantial or not is another story. I'm trying to figure out.
They fully gave us one thing that we asked for.
Yeah. So it's dense. So let me just kind of summarize here. So one of the questions was what type of gigabit service qualifies as for community anchor institutions, and what information you have to provide. And they said, regarding your question, please find the attached CSV file. And there's a CSV. Did you see that, Brian? The CAI list?
Yeah, I haven't looked through it. I've been getting over jet lag so that I'd be
Okay.
useful as fast as
So
possible.
they provided a community anchor institution list. And I haven't been through it either. Let's see if I sort by zip code. I don't know if it's gonna let me.
I can filter it in real quick.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
Yeah, I just looking off, it doesn't look, it's a huge file. I can't tell you what they've got in here or not, but they did provide a CAI list.
But
What's the next?
that must be the updated one, because the last one they sent us was incomplete, apparently.
Could be. So then there was also a question about Herring Pond Wampanoag, and the answer is that residents of the Commonwealth, they are able to submit evidence just like everybody else.
Which isn't really what we were asking, but
No.
Right. So when it comes to the legal waiver language, they provided some language that we can use. Cut and pasted in there. And that's apparently the language that's going to be used if you go to the MBI portal. And then there were questions about the RFP, in other words, things about waivers. And they basically said that you have to submit that through the procurement process. There's a process outlined in the procurement document, so for collecting input, and that if we have any questions or concerns or comments about the process, including, for example, the waiver, you basically have to use the procurement process to put those questions in or make those comments.
I got them in before the deadline, basically reiterating all the stuff we've asked them 1,000 times and they haven't answered. So it's legally and lawfully in before the end of the comment period.
So that was everything from Colin. So
Okay.
I don't think we got anything else. I know I didn't receive any other emails. Bob?
More concerning
Nothing.
in the email from Colin was that they said they are recommending the Office of Economic Development ask NTIA some of our questions that MBI doesn't have the answer to. Instead of immediately moving to ask them, they're still stuck in some bureaucratic process to do so. So I just emailed Stuart, who's the regional contact at NTIA, and forwarded Colin's email and said, hey, can we get on the phone for 15 minutes and hash out these questions that MBI doesn't have? And Open Cape gave me his phone number, so we can follow up with him and just say, hey, these are the questions everybody needs. MBI doesn't have them. How do we approach this?
Right, but they already, most of those questions were regarding the challenge process that I remember anyway. And the challenge process document is out. So I don't know that there's really any legal way to go back and edit that document without starting the challenge process over again.
So I think it's clarifying some things that weren't well defined, which might be allowable because they aren't changing it, so to speak. They're just clarifying.
I understand the difference, but change is change. And typically in a lot of these government review processes, if you have a new version of the document, it causes the process to start over.
Or you start over completely, right?
That's what I mean. Yeah. All you have to do is change the versioning on the document in order to kick you back to the beginning of the process.
Oh,
God
one way to find out, but God
all he
help
can
us,
say is no. Yeah, all he can say is
sure,
no.
that's fine. Yeah, I'm just, I guess, sort of explaining what I've seen in the past. So, I don't know.
Fun.
Okay. Okay. Well, any other correspondence? Seeing none, we'll if Anne Marie comes on at our next meeting, she may have some backed up stuff that for whatever reason we didn't receive, but I don't think so. Okay. Moving on to funding opportunities. The 800-pound gorilla here is the bead, the imminent bead challenge, or the opening bead challenge as of today. So just to a quick review, and this is a couple of us were on a call yesterday with that Open Cape was on and Steve Tupper was on, and they do not have their media kit ready. They are working on some reducing or improving the readability of the words, getting rid of some of the technical stuff that the public, the press, etc., won't understand. And I put pressure on them. And Rob Bateman said at the very least they'll have a press release available by tomorrow, because we on the Upper Cape want to get a press release to, and maybe some stuff we write on our own, to the Enterprise papers, which I believe publish Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for the 4 Upper Cape towns. Anybody know any different from that? And anyway, we would get those in as quickly as possible to those 4, so we start we can start making people aware. One of the difficulties was that the web address that they had picked up, capespeedtest.com, speedtest.com is copyrighted by Ookla, or trademarked, or whatever you want to call it, with a website. So they Ookla objected, and now they've got to come up with another easily rememberable, so to speak, web address.
They did.
Yeah, what's the new one, Wendy?
She's mailed me some stuff to do some editing on. It's something like, fixcapecodinternet.com or something like that.
Okay.
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. Anyway,
But
that's
they have proceeded to make those changes as indicated.
so they go ahead, Wendy.
But when during that meeting she said they've got all this stuff that is too wordy and they have to fix. I said, send it to me, I'll fix it for you. And she sent me the little handout cards that they're going to have, which were actually pretty much okay. I haven't gotten the other thing that she was going to send me, which sounds like what you were just describing, a whole lot of stuff that needs to be translated into 8th grade English. And when I get it, I'll shoot it right back to her, and I hope I get it today.
Yeah, but they have all kinds of stuff. They have radio ads that are going out. They're gonna fly a plane with a banner on it for the week, not the week for the 4th of July, but the week before that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, when nobody is at the beach. They're going to have a press opening, and they're going to have the plane fly over that. Excuse me. It chokes me up when I think of that. But in any case, they're going ahead and doing that. And they were talking, the crucial thing was talking about a beta test of the website and getting some data submitted and then giving it to MBI and getting them to bless it that this in fact is acceptable. And we kind of pointed out that MBI is unresponsive generally, or if they do respond, it's slow and late and almost too late. And that if we wait for them to bless the whole thing, they will not, it's not going to be time sensitive at all. So I think the agreement was, well, we'll just go ahead and as soon as they get a chunk of data, of real data, send it to MBI and say we're collecting it. And then just hope that MBI, if they find deficiencies, we can find a way to back correct the data in the database as opposed to going back to the individual people. The other thing that they came up with was a way for people to actually access their Comcast bills online, because most people don't even look at those. There was instructions, and they would have a web address that's going to be in one of these handouts.
Which is only
Wendy,
for Comcast. That's only for Comcast customers, though. Those of us who are so stuck with T-Mobile, there are none.
It's fine because we only need to challenge the Comcast territory. I don't think we need to challenge FWA. Am I wrong on that?
I believe you're correct, Brian.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I happen to do it every month because I get my bill electronically, but I have to approve it. And you have to just log into Xfinity with your user name and password. I don't actually use them for mail, but I have a mail account with them. And then you go under billing, and it takes a couple of minutes. It takes like a minute or 30 seconds for them to generate a bill, and you can download it or look at PDF and do it. They don't make it ultra simple, but it's not bad.
So one of the things I find interesting is, MBI has its own portal for doing the speed testing, and I just went and did it. Mine came up below, by the way, so they asked me to submit the result, but they never asked for the bill. They asked for other information about my service, but they never asked for a copy of the bill.
So
could it be that you need to get through 3 tests before they ask for that?
Well, it looks to me like as soon as you fail one, they take the data. Maybe I'm going to do it every day because it looks like I'm going to fail.
It's worth playing with it because the NTIA rules don't require the bill. It requires an attestation that you subscribe to a speed above that. So
that's what they asked
it said
for.
One of the proofs of that is the bill. And then the way MBI writes their language, they're basically their speed test is lawful. And then here's like a billion rules for everyone else's. So like whatever their speed test does, if you can get it under the limit, it is legal by their own definition. So
yeah, I'm only getting 80 something down. So basically MBI is taking me as unserved. So I'm going to continue to do it. And then, there is this legal mumbo jumbo that says what you said about your service is really what it, you're representing it. And then you just click a box and hit submit. So anyway, I'm just pointing out that if you do the MBI one, you don't have to do a bill.
So,
and they're not asking for 3 either, because the document said that they want the medium of 3.
Correct. So you basically you keep doing it over and over, and they just take the results one at a time until they get 3. That's the way it looks.
Oh, that's different than what they said. So I guess we all need to try it directly and see what happens, because it was supposed to
I just did it one time. It came in that just said, hey, it looks like you're unserved. You want to submit the result.
That's actually technically wrong, because the way they wrote the language is that you can only area challenge from served to underserved. You cannot challenge it down to unserved. So why is it? Why is it saying
that I was underserved?
Underserved. Okay, I was wondering because that'd be really
do you want
funny.
to submit the result? And I said yes, and then I filled out a form and I hit submit. So anyway, that's the MBI one. There you go.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
We should all try it, because we don't want to give it to people, and because the concern with the way MBI portrayed it is that, with the Cape being unstable, and we might have to take a dozen speed tests to finally catch it when it's down. We thought the Sanborn tool might be difficult to use, but if it's being implemented differently than they said, we might want to just all test it personally and see what
Yeah,
happens.
should all give it a shot. I'll put the web address in the chat.
Right.
Because if it works and it's automatically lawful, so even
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Jed,
the
you've
trick
got
is you have to find your you have to go through the map and find your house and click on the dot.
Jed, you had a group of what before we formed this committee of folks who were looking at trying to put a net through your neighborhood. If you've got that email list, I would go ahead and just send the email list the link and tell everybody to go and do a test.
Oh, my neighborhood. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, you failed in I don't know how 30 or 40 houses. If you get 5 more who have 2 tests below the median, Bob's your uncle. All of a sudden your
Slipped.
block is meets
Done.
the requirement.
Got a good point. Yeah, I'll pass the word in the neighborhood.
But the way the
And
document is written, it appears they're only going to use the second of 3 tests. They're going to use the median. They
Yeah.
asked for 3, and they're going to use the median, which is the second
But
one.
what was weird, it asked me if I wanted to submit the result. So it seems like you can cherry pick.
Oh,
But it
so the
appears,
tool
it
works
appears
better than they know.
yeah, but it
Yeah,
appears
but
that
it
you're
said, hey.
limited to 3, and they're going to only look at the second test,
Yeah.
according to the document.
I don't know. Play around with it. I only did one, but when I did it, it said, hey, you're underserved. Would you like to submit that result? So I
Wow.
did. So that's all I can tell you. I mean, I'm going to keep trying it every day. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
Because then it goes to Connected Nation. So I'm curious what the follow-up process from them is, because technically, if you're putting it in as a citizen, you're not an eligible entity, and so it goes to the eligible entity as a service.
Huh.
So really curious what they do for follow-up.
Who knows? Yeah.
Wow.
Having fun yet? Trying to figure this out with literally,
Mm-hmm.
today. It's open today and no one knows what's going on, or we barely know what's going on.
Well,
And
hopefully
MBI is
the
even wrong.
hopefully the contractors themselves know what MBI is trying to do, and they're trying to find a streamlined way to get it done, and as opposed to implementing the wrong words from MBI. It could be, they've done this for other states and they know how it goes.
They just
Wouldn't
finished
it be
Rhode Island,
ironic if
so
MBI didn't allow Jed's submissions because they didn't fit the criteria that they've set forward, even though it's on their link?
they should all be fired if that happens.
They could do that. Well, sure.
It says their tool is lawful, so
Okay.
Oh my God.
All right, let me tell you something. I'm just in the process of doing it now, and it told me I'm getting like 528 down, which is right, and 23 up. And then it gave me a page, and this is really funny. It says your speed test results indicate that you may not have access to high-speed internet service. Please click the start button below to share some information that will enable us to follow up with you and gather additional information to improve your service. I don't think this thing's working, because I mean, by their standards, I am making it. I have over 20 up, and definitely over 100 down. So and also it definitely is the Ookla speed test. If you look at it, the graphics are exactly the same. They just changed the colors. So I'm not sure what's going on with this.
Okay.
We should all try it and see what happens. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and submit other information if I have to see what's going on with it. And I will try to do it again and after the meeting and see what's going on. But that seems kind of weird.
Well,
And
this whole
it definitely
thing is
doesn't.
weird.
Yeah, and it definitely doesn't coincide with what the document that Brian forwarded says about the 3 tests and the permissible tests, and the data has to be submitted by a approved organization.
So in the background that they have that Connected Nations is the qualified entity. So if MBI receives a submission that has the data, they're supposed to submit on behalf of the person. They don't need to explain that to most people, I don't think. So they probably just skip that in the tool.
It's weird.
Okay. Well, in summary, Wendy, put in our in the minutes our continued confusion and dissatisfaction with the output from MBI and the timeliness of the output from MBI in terms of giving us direction, workable direction on this whole process.
Yeah, I should just have a block of text to cut and paste every week.
Yeah,
Boy,
they've been bordering on negligent here in their job. You know, that we get a data dump from them 2 days ago, and everyone's still trying to process it. When speed tests are already allowed to be collected for the last 60 days, you know, the tool opens formally for a 30-day window today, and no one's had enough time to process any of this information, and we are some of the most on top of it people, and it's just such a shame to see how badly they've handled this.
well, in any case, we're out of time right now, so you know, we have to go with whatever seems to work. As soon as Open Cape gets and the commission get their portal up, I suggest everybody use that one also. So you know, multiple tests are allowed. They can go and submit it, and you know, we can fight over what is you know, what's a valid test and what isn't a valid test afterwards. I'm sure Comcast is gonna dig into these databases and try to find, oh, somebody didn't hit the right comma in the right file. So
Yeah, really.
therefore, yeah, I expect that kind of stuff to come back in August.
So we are but the town of Bourne is a qualified entity, and can we start submitting? Because the MBI has already created. Oh, so I probably didn't share this with everybody to avoid the quorum issue. So in order to figure out how much work it was going to be for the town administrator to set up a town account in the Sanborn tool, I did a dry run just to time it and see all the work, and MBI ended up just approving the town of Bourne's account. So all of us could create these. The town administrator doesn't actually have to set it up. Since MBI, you know, knew the names from Bourne, they just approved it. So do we have any further things we have to ask the select board to do in order to proceed with entering data into there manually?
You said MBI disapproved the
Sorry,
town's?
approved.
Thank you. That
So,
made better sense.
It's set up in such a way any of us can go in there, click what entity are you with, town of Bourne, and get our own submission account.
Which we do not need, right? If there's already one in there, right? We
just need to make one. So it's Bob Dwyer's account. Here's my email. Here's my phone number. I'm with Town of Bourne, and you can do that. Like, so you just have to make your own sub account. They've already set up the Town of Bourne as an entity that is in their system.
What do we individually need those for?
If we are going to submit the community anchor data, and if we are going to be manually submitting speed tests from people, we could also take the data from Open Cape and load it into MBI's tool ourselves for speed.
Okay, well, perhaps I just do that as chair, and you know, use me as the me or Brian as the point of submittal if we have to submit things, you know, a sub CSV file with whatever Open Cape or Cape Cod Commission accumulates.
Yeah, so it opens. We thought this was going to be a much harder process where the town administrator is going to have to sign a contract and all that. But after we've met with the senior people of MBI for the challenge, and they saw the names they knew, they immediately approved the account. So there's no lifting of town hall necessary.
So excuse me, just for clarification here, does this mean that, for example, if Bob's name is already, you know, in their list of things, that if I do, well, they've probably got my name too, but if Joe Blow has has data to submit, that Joe should send it to Bob and Bob has to enter it, or can Joe go ahead and say, I'm with the town of Bourne and just take it from there?
I believe that so they approve each account. So any Joe Blow could go in there and attempt to create an account. But as soon as MBIs goes, who is Joe Blow with Bourne? I only know, Bob, Brian, Wendy, John, Jed, and Tony. Or, because they saw my name, so they knew immediately it was with Bourne. And so maybe they email back like, hey, do you know so and so? So it's unrestricted, but there is an approval process to stop random people from getting an account that shouldn't have one.
And do we know for a fact that this all is flying with the select board or whatever? In other words, they don't have a problem with us submitting through their account?
That's my question, because we can do it.
I spoke briefly to MJ last evening, and I said, we are starting to collect data. The window opens today. We're working with Open Cape and the Cape Cod Commission on a submittal portal. And she said, oh, good. I'm glad that's underway. And I left it at that. Okay. So I'm going to take that as permission. Okay.
Go take it.
So what else do we have to submit besides the actual speed data? Do we also have to submit copies of bills? Do we know exactly what we need to get from people that are having a problem?
This should all be in the final release, but I haven't read the latest MBI release, but I read the one before it, and it's all the stuff we've talked about. The attestation, saying you got the speed and/or bill, the signing the waiver, the speed tests, all the normal stuff. Yeah, that's what we'd be putting in. Plus, we'd have access to the community anchor tools to start adding community anchor institutions. We could figure out what kind of proof we need in order to put those in.
So we don't need Open Cape at all. We can just do this ourselves. We don't need to use any of the. Okay.
We don't need them. I'm sure it will be better collectively as the entire Cape, but to avoid risk here, we should just start playing with the tools directly and be ready in case if something goes wrong, and/or if for speed, just do the things that we don't want either tools for, which is the community anchors. Start on those. But no, we don't need them. But I think MBI will be more forced to listen to us as the whole Cape. But
I would say we collect this, perhaps submit it both through our own sign on and also give it to the Cape Cod Commission and say, here are other anchor institutions we would like you to submit also.
And that's one thing MBI did bless in the call. They said multiple groups can submit the same and/or different data for the same address. So if Open Cape wants to put in some anchors, cool. If Bourne wants to put in some anchors, that's cool too. If someone wants to use a Sanborn tool, the Bourne hack together, us sitting in their house tool, and the Open Cape tool, that's perfectly fine.
And if they get duplicates for the same organization or the same CAI, they won't pitch a fit?
No, they said it was okay.
Okay.
So we don't have an exact guideline yet on what exactly has to be submitted. In other words, where do you get this attestation form? Where do you report this stuff? In other words, what would be the actual mechanical process? Do the people report this stuff to Bob, or do they report it directly to MBI, or how is this supposed to work?
Oh, so with anything with MBI, we don't have 100% certainty. At best, we're at about 95. So one of us will have to put it in since it has to be done by an eligible entity.
And how do we get people to get it to us?
So Jed and I quickly poked at if we get a Google Workspaces account, we can get a Google form with full encryption, and locked up. So we could spin up for a donatable amount of money our own submission thing in a second. It would be ugly, it would be gross, it will be black and white, but it would be compliant.
Let's back up a second here. Okay. I just want to get the overview. So we know MBI has something that is up and is running, and presumably it's acceptable to them since they paid a contractor to produce it. We have that would include both the speed testing portal and also presumably some way to submit CAI information and documentation. Open Cape has another tool, that submittal portal that they're going to put up, and they're going to assemble, presumably for bulk submittals, either by the whole county or by individual 15 towns. They're going to be submitting speed test data, and maybe blocked out by census block groups, one would hope. We do not know if they have the ability, or they have the bandwidth to be able to put in CAI information, right? Okay, so the only way to submit CAI information is going to come from individual towns, which would be us, right? Okay, and the only thing we're talking about for this workspace device or tool is going to be CAI. Is that correct?
At this time, just for CAIs, unless, you know, the worst of the worst happens and OpenCape's tool does not spin up, it could also be extended to that. But realistically, right now, it's for CAIs to send in their stuff.
Okay.
The CAIs can do it themselves, though, if they want.
Well,
So
they don't even know what this exists, but.
Just as a data point, so I went through the latest list. There's 30 CAIs in the list that MBI sent us.
Huh.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah,
That's an improvement over 3.
yeah.
Boy, can we get them? Can we get them on a map and just look at that and compare with, for instance, where we know FiOS has extended? Because we don't want to go chasing a lot of data from like the VFW hall on Shore Road to get a lot of data when they've got FiOS outside the door.
It's got longitude, latitude. So yeah, I could drop it into something and just show you the pins.
Yeah. And again, you know, we can, and those are all judged as eligible CAIs, or are those submitted CAIs?
Approved CAIs.
Approved CAIs. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. So the question is, you know, it would seem to me, once we know where those are, and you know where likely middle mile or trunk lines are going to be extended, what we need to do is find other CAIs in areas that will not get those things in the immediate future, and chase those institutions down.
Actually, I take that comment back. We should be absolutely sure these are approved and there's no additional data submission required for these, knowing MBI. We should probably get that clarified and be 1,000% sure that we don't have to get it in writing, that we don't have to submit these and these are fully approved.
Brian, if we can impose on you, sounds like another FOIA request to our friend Jennifer.
No, we are embargoed on FOIAs by the way of the language. They have blocked us until the end of the challenge because we had requested all emails on the challenge process, and they petitioned for more time. So the FOIA office is completely blocked until July 20th.
Oh, that's great.
Fun. Yeah, it's great.
Does our legislative cohort know about that?
I feel like we need to prepare a response to the lack of response from MBI and drag them in on this. But we need to focus on what do we need to get through this and focus on those first.
Absolutely. Again, we need critical path on every one of these so that we get the required information in the quickest amount of time. And any time that we have to request something from MBI, as far as I'm concerned, that is a waste of time we don't have. You know, we can try to go to the legislature and have them call, and we can try to do this and try to do that, and they're going to stonewall them. They'll smile, but they'll still stonewall them, and we won't get information in time to make viable decisions. Does anybody disagree with my reading of that?
No, And I think it's the first line of defense. This site that Jed found looks good. I mean, if it's going to go right to MBI, it might bypass the rest of this, administrative stuff we're trying to go through. If it really works, it looks interesting. It did
We
say,
should all,
yeah.
we should all use it and run some tests. Grab a
Yeah.
grab the closest CAI to you and put it through and see what happens.
Do you have to run it from their computer, or can you run it from your house?
CAIs doesn't matter because there's no speed testing requirement of CAI. It's merely is this a community anchor or not?
Okay.
So you're talking about, is your parish church a CAI or something like that? So you just submit that and say, hey, I think my parish is a CAI. Here's the address. And what happens then?
They request additional documentation that's still being figured out, proving it's one of the allowed uses like public safety, addiction, healthcare. It seems like they need some kind of proof. So that's why I think, so given the fact that what MBI says verbally, what MBI's documents say, and what the tool can do are all different, let's just each grab an account and push one through and take all that learning so that we can handle this in bulk, since we might need to get a few data sets. If we can get the data sets from the right places, we can always use some Excel formulas, put it all together. Hopefully there's a way to do a bulk upload. If not, we're just gonna manually put them in.
Can we get a list of those 30 CAIs that they think might be okay, or we would need to test on, and if we can go and do some?
Sure. I'm also filtering it to see if I get the same number as Jed, because the way they have it set up is that there's Bourne, there's Buzzards Bay, there's I'm making sure that we have the same numbers here.
Yeah, so
I don't see it right. I see where you can do a test. I don't see where you can submit a CAI. You can actually plug in your address and it pinpoints it on the map, and then you can do the test. But I didn't see, at least on the site that Jed passed out, I didn't see anything about identifying CAIs. Is that a different site?
So Brian, going back to the filtering, I was able to find most of the CAIs under Bourne, and then there were 2 under Buzzards Bay, 1 under Pocasset, and none of the other villages had a hit.
What did you have for Pocasset, by the way?
It just has an address. I believe it's the Roland Finney location. It's either that or the VFW. It's one or the other. But then that wouldn't be Pocasset, would it? Yeah, I think it's
That's
the Roland
Monument
Finney.
Beach. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's where I found him, Brian.
Okay, I'm looking.
You have to sort by city. The zip code one doesn't work.
Of course it doesn't.
They've got a few zip codes that are 3 characters, some are 4 and some are 5. So it makes the filtering quite challenging.
You got to use the city. You got to use the city index.
So to recap, as individuals, we could enter the physical address, like 312 Barlow's Landing Road, I think it's a church or something like that, and say, I think this is a CAI. No, can't do that.
No. What John was saying is, if you want to do a personal speed test,
yes,
you can enter your own address and do the speed test.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the Sanborn tool directly through MBI.
Right.
And it seems to work.
I don't think any of us collectively have found a website where we can submit CAIs.
So it should be the same tool once we have. So you have to get I'll get you the link. I sent it out the other day where you sign up as the town. Hold on, that's the link you need. Put it in the chat. Give me 2 minutes to find it.
Okay, well.
Yeah, what else do we have to cover on this one, Bob?
Well, just the crucial thing, and I guess it's under public outreach, the next section, but is to one, confirm that these 2 tools, presuming Open Capes is up in a day or 2, are up and stable. And the next thing is the most critical path is to get people to do a lot of testing right up, especially over the 4th of July weekend. Okay. It would seem to me that the weekends that we have between now and July 20th, especially the 4-day 4th of July weekend, will be the time that we expect to see the most network congestion, and getting as many people as possible to do that testing is going to be the task for us. Admittedly, all of us can try beta tests, and Jed, you're probably going to get an email. They say to do a test tomorrow or do a test the next day. Would you like to do another test? You're eligible, and you hit yes, and keep going until you get, basically you need 2 below whatever, and then stop testing. If once you hit 2, you do the 3rd test, and regardless of whether it's above or below the limits, you're then underserved, and you don't need to do any more testing. And they may then say, okay, 3 tests have confirmed you're underserved. Now upload this documentation, your attestation or whatever. It could be something sequential going like that. And please report back to us. Everybody report back as you go through this process. Brian, did you just put that up? I'm viewing Zoom on my.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
So yeah, I agree with the course of action. Everyone beta test NBI's tool just for, just do it so we know how it works in case we need to use it. I've put in the chat where us, the committee, can sign up to get a Town of Bourne qualified submitter portal access. You sign up, it takes like a day or 2 for NBI to look at it. So just sign up now, and in case they don't recognize your name, and they'll email one of us that they do know, because it's probably Colin approving it, since he is. Yeah. He seems to be doing the grunt work of managing this, whereas policy is being done by his boss. So it's probably goes straight to Colin, and I'm sure he's overworked as possible right now because there's a lot to handle.
Right. Okay. With that, I'm gonna just do a pause on discussion of the challenge testing and CAI uploads. I think we sort of have a way forward. If everybody, Brian, you're going to produce a map that's got these 30 points on it. If everybody can take a look at the map and identify areas that are not likely to get immediate service by Fios, Verizon, or whomever. Identify other possible institutions, and let's think about uploading them. The deadline for submitting CAIs is July 20th, Brian?
I got to check, but I would assume it's the same as everything else.
Okay. So
but assumptions with NBI are always dangerous, so we'll have to double check that.
But we won't get an answer in time, so we might as well just go and start. Yeah. Okay. The next is GAP round 2.
Wait, really?
Yeah. It is now open for submittals again. We know I have heard that towns are getting requests from Verizon, from Comcast, etc., to support their applications for GAP round 2. There's an initiative of a company trying to do this in Somerset, and it's requesting kind of approval from South Coast towns. And the concern there, just briefly, is that if a town goes and supports this particular company's initiative, it then locks themselves out of being able to go after the money themselves. So there's a great debate, at least on the South Coast, and I haven't heard anything about anybody being approached on Cape Cod or in Barnstable County. But Brian, is the 20% copay still in there, or 20% bonding for fiber still in the requirements?
Yeah, I don't think it's changed. I can
Okay.
reread GAP round 2, but the primary issue, which we discussed with NBI, was the co-funding waiver. So it really doesn't matter how much the co-funding is. We needed a waiver since the only way for Bourne to apply. And it's already set in stone that you have to have the debt, you have to have broadband debt. So we won't get it.
Yeah, okay.
Why it's set in stone and whether they should have not done that, that's something up for debate. But as of this time, we can't, given the marching orders we have, just that we can't spend money, or at least not without a year warning. I don't think we'll be able to do a gap round 2 application.
Yeah. I'm going to just table this discussion for the time being because I don't see any way forward for us between the waiver, number one, and number two, reading the past minutes, if anybody hadn't been at that meeting, the willingness or lack thereof of the town to provide us any support whatsoever. The only way we could do this if there were a long open period, frankly, is to form an MLP. And that's 2 rounds through town meeting. Yeah, with strong headwinds right there. They got it through in Falmouth. And Jed, another question to the MLP is to see whether they have found a way to apply for gap money. And my guess is that they have not.
They haven't
not.
Decided. Yeah, we spoke to David Eisenberg about it, and they have no plans.
Okay. Well, again, I'm going to table discussion on this until anybody sees a window of opportunity for Bourne to do this. I just don't see a very easy way to get into the process unless we team with somebody else, and I don't see any team members out there. The MLP in Falmouth, the MLP in Falmouth might have been one opportunity, but if they're not applying, then that's dead. Okay, moving forward to public.
Can I make one comment so that it enters into the minutes?
Absolutely.
It's really unfortunate that the select board hasn't found a way to come up with some funding, since this is a 80% grant with a 20% co-funding to run laterals out to 50 or so places in town that are already on the map as underserved. So it would be a lot simpler than a BEAD grant, but we'll have to try to make the BEAD grant work with all its complexity. And that too will require co-funding, so we need to figure out how to address that subject.
Exactly. And, if we're declared eligible, or, we've got big blocks, census block groups that are eligible, and we get a eligibility for a BEAD grant, we still don't know how much money of the $145 million is actually left. We don't know how many of these are going to be eligible statewide and how big a pot of money we're going to be pursuing. So, the first step is to show that we're underserved. And then after that, we can try to fight for the pie. Maybe if it's a smaller pie than we thought, and there are many slices that are going to come out of it, we're going to have a tough time convincing anybody to go forward with this, let alone the select board. So that's my observations of the way forward here. But, I don't see any other way other than we won't know that number until after everybody gets through this challenge process and survives the rebuttals that'll kind of come back fast and furious from Comcast and whomever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody disagree with that observation? Any alternative views on that?
No, it's not going to happen because it's going to involve town meeting, and they're not going to approve the funds.
Well, there are other if we are strongly eligible for a big pot of money, and the town and there's no town expenditure, then it doesn't necessarily have to go to town meeting.
Well, I assume that they still want the 20%, right? So,
well, that's for gap. Okay, for BEAD, I don't think there is.
Oh no, BEAD is I agree. BEAD is we have a chance with BEAD.
Right,
because we can bypass all of that because it's a zero risk proposition for the town, so they would go along with it. We get the money, it's great.
And if the town doesn't want to administer this, we get this American Connection Corps intern working through the county to administer it. Hopefully there are going to be more entities in the county that also go and apply for this, or have eligibility for the funding.
I just
Okay,
wanted to, I just wanted to point out
Go
one
ahead.
more thing about that, because we brought up, and Anne Marie brought up the idea of us assisting the town. And I thought back and said, I spent 30 years working for a public broadcaster, and we had a lot of volunteers who weren't paid. And so I'm not sure that the town would necessarily reject the idea of us volunteering to help, to assist them. They would actually do the submission, but we could do, as you guys did before, we do kind of legwork. Here, we've kind of pre-filled out this form for you. Take a look at it. This might be helpful to you, and that way that it's a light load on them. We as volunteers do the work, and I don't know if that would be a problem with their their hierarchy and their union contracts. I know when I worked in public broadcasting, it wasn't. We accepted volunteers for what they were, and it was fine.
It was my understanding that the town administrator absolutely doesn't want that. She, whatever excuse she's giving, she doesn't want us there. I could be wrong about that. I'd be very pleased to be wrong about that.
You're very right. You're very right.
Okay,
Yeah, but there are other avenues that we could go for that potentially could do this. If we had to, we can try to do this through one of the foundations in town, okay, to act as the grant recipient, etc. There are other ways around it, but the county, the Cape Cod Commission, are two other entities where that would make sense to administer something like this. The town is right now on the wastewater side. The town is considering essentially delegating all of the responsibility for administering these watershed permits. In other words, supervising the installation, inspection, whatever, of nitrogen removing septic systems in the residents' backyards in Bourne, to a responsible management entity, which will very likely be the county. Okay, they're just gonna, okay, here, we're going to give all of the responsibility for this, even though it is a legal town responsibility. We're going to give it all to the county, and have a, there'll be some kind of a memorandum of agreement or interagency agreement that'll fund that. The same could be done with broadband. If all of the money funnels through the county, they don't have to worry about it.
Would the county buy that?
The county, let's put it this way, they are thinking about it and trying to find a vehicle to be a regional broadband. The Cape Cod Commission did a regional broadband needs study, feasibility study. So they are thinking about it. They don't have a vehicle to fund that. Clearly, something like a BEAD grant would be a vehicle that could fund a position and manage all of this. So anyway, so there are other vehicles out there that we can consider. Let's worry about becoming eligible with multiple underserved census block groups in the town of Bourne, and presumably elsewhere on the Cape, that we can then go and approach another entity to manage this, to manage a joint grant application for all of Barnstable County, for instance. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I'll pick the gavel up again. Sorry for my opinions there.
Your opinion is not alone. I've had conversations with people in Falmouth, and they also think a county-wide effort might be productive. So that's not a fringe opinion.
Or it could be another entity formed under this umbrella group of chambers of commerce. Each of those has its own foundation. There are entities out there that can be formed all the time, and presumably people who work for a chamber of commerce know how to form some small companies or foundations to go and manage efforts like this. Anyway, moving forward, the most immediate effort I see that we need is outreach to everybody in terms of trying to get people to do the speed testing. Let me tell you of an immediate opportunity coming up on Saturday. Wendy, you've seen these little cards that the Open Cape is producing. Wendy, you there? Hello, Wendy.
Yes, I have.
Okay. if those get those are almost ready to go, I'm waiting for a phone call back from the Bourne Historical Society. I asked for permission to set up a table at the ticket booth for the Strawberry Festival on Saturday to basically hand these cards out as people go and buy their tickets to get their strawberry shortcake. If nobody else can, I plan to be there, but we're going to have a booth there if I get final permission today from 10 to 3, and I'll get 1,000 of these cards to hand out. If anybody wants to join me, I would certainly appreciate the help, as opposed to talking for 5 hours. Hay fever's got my voice down to a crackle right now, as you can hear, but I'm certainly willing to do that. So if anybody wants to come on board, just send me an email and let me know. I'm going to be there at least from it's from 10 to 3. I'll be there from at least 9:30 to 12 or 12:30. Well, my wife dishes out strawberry shortcake at the up at the counter, or something else for the Historical Society. But I think that's a perfect opportunity to meet as many as possible. Wendy, does this thing have a QR code on it?
Let me see if I can call that up.
The other issue we're going to run into is some people don't even have Ethernet cables and a port.
You don't need an Ethernet cable.
So you need to be plugged. You need to be plugged in to take the speed test.
It says close proximity in the document that you sent out.
So when you run the MBI's tool, it asks, yeah, well, it does say close proximity. It's just,
yeah, and it didn't ask me anything when I did the test.
So I worry that if they're not done plugged in, they'll reject the test. But how would they know? How would they know if they're not plugged in if people don't check off the box?
Damn internet! I can't. My emails aren't opening. It's
in
just
any
lagging.
in any case, Jen is going to send me overnight a bundle of these things, and I'm going to be ready on Saturday morning to start handing them out. Again, if anybody wants to join me, I'd appreciate the help. I'll bring a couple of chairs and a table, and I think we can probably. Last year, I think they had 500 people, 500 attendees. It's a huge fundraiser for them. I think the fee this year is going to be museum admission and strawberry shortcake for $10, and they probably make about $4 profit off of that. So, 4 times 500 is a huge hit input to their budget. So they've advertised
on it was
10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And as I said, I can do this alone from 10 a.m. until 9:30 to 12:30. If anybody else wants to come and spell me for the afternoon, that would be appreciated.
No, I just can't.
No worries. If you happen to come up with some free time, please join me.
I love doing stuff like this.
Right. I'm suffering with a really bad back right now, so I don't know. My mobility is kind of limited at the moment. In fact, I got PT this afternoon, so we'll see.
God bless.
Yeah.
Everybody has other things going on in their lives. I'm
Yeah,
trying
no,
to sell a
to
house.
do
I'm trying to sell a house right now.
Right. Oh yeah. And we got again, the concert in Buzzards Bay might be a chance, as I said. The last year, one of the ladies from or two of them from the Chamber of Commerce were coming around, collecting a little donation money, and they hit up
that. That's July 11th. The
right,
next one.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer, but that's also after the 4th of July. So we
right,
have.
I agree.
You have one, maybe two weekends after that, where we can get congested traffic data from people. So again, we're going to be meeting before then, but the immediate opportunity. Does anybody object to my handing these things out on Saturday?
Oh, absolutely not. Go for it.
Okay, great.
You can even give people. You can say, "Do you have friends that couldn't make it today? Can you take 2 extras and give it to them?"
Oh,
Just,
absolutely.
be generous.
Right.
Yeah, we need
And
as many
Wendy,
people doing this as possible because you'll get some people that get stuck somewhere and then only a quarter of them will complete it. So we need as much awareness
Oh,
as
yeah.
possible. And people need to know that it's only a handful of people needed to make a difference. So they personally need to just do it. So
right.
I don't know if you say that, they're going to say, "Oh, well, somebody else will do it." You know what I mean?
Right.
how do
Exactly.
how
If
do
you
we
only need a
convince
few,
them
then you
to
don't really need me. But so I think you got to say we need as many as possible.
Right.
And
true?
here's
Yeah,
your
because
card.
only
Will
some will
you be
qualify.
able to do this, next weekend? And see
Well,
what they say. Yeah.
the other thing is, again, we need more as possible. And
Yeah.
frankly, if we start getting rebuttals back from Comcast, I mean,
It'll,
Comcast is,
it'll tell us
this
something.
is a cash cow. I mean, they picked this Adelphia system up for pocket change, and they've gotten $1 million of subscribers with no investment or virtually no investment. So they're not going to give this up without a fight. Okay, we're not supposed to disparage the individual companies, but all of us know how companies work, how these companies work.
Facts are facts. That's not disparagement.
Right. If the gentleman from Mass Priorities is listening, feel free to rebut this with hard data.
Your comments are in the public interest, Bob. So you are well in the defendable territory of speech.
This is like at the baseball game when you're not supposed to say those special words to the umpire, but you can say, "Well, what if I were going to call you up?" You're not really calling them that.
Yeah, that's a Ciceronian debate tool. Anyway, moving forward, Cicero used that as a debate tool all the time. Well, I'm not really calling him an idiot, but anyway, moving forward. So we're going to get the media kit from Open Cape here imminently, they say. Wendy, if we don't see anything in a media kit or a press release, could you put something in on the residents' Facebook page and just let everybody know? Just you saw my "How's your internet" blurb there.
Yes.
That's too much to hand out, I think. But put a little bit. How's your internet? If you don't like it, and there'll be a toolkit to get us better service or something. And by the way, we're going to be distributing a way to get at this testing tool at the Strawberry Festival, at the Bourne Historical Society Strawberry Festival on Saturday at the Tuxet Museums.
I will do that.
Okay. The other thing that we ought to think about is if we start or the Cape Cod Commission starts seeing an aggregation of underserved areas within census block groups, we may have to go on do something like knock on doors or stand in front of the post office or of these particular areas, the Katomet post office or whatever, on Saturdays when this is going forward. As soon as the flyer is done by Open Cape, I'm going to start putting a bunch of these on bulletin boards around town. There are public bulletin boards in most of the post offices. There's community associations and beach associations have them. So I'm going to post some of these there.
But there's also Pocasset Market and up at Gray Gables. Well, Gray Gables may not be in play, but Pocasset Market has a bulletin board.
Convince them to hand them out. They hate the internet as much as anybody. Tell Dillip and co that this is the only way we're going to get funding to fix the problem. Tell them to be handing them out to everybody buying groceries.
Right.
Yeah, I bet the people at the market would probably be happy to have a pile of them right there at the cash register and give one to everybody who comes through.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all we can do right now. Okay, moving on to item C, the liaison with the Tech Council. The Tech Council has been holding weekly calls about this, but basically it's been listening to Jen and Rob Bateman from Open Cape and Steve Tupper from the Commission talk about, gee, we're getting there, but we're not there yet. And we've talked about that already, so I'm not going to spend more time on this. Mass Broadband Coalition has a call coming up later this afternoon, I believe. I haven't seen the dial-in information. Who would like to be on that call if I get the dial-in information? I can circulate. Brian, would you?
I'll be on. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Anyone
I'll
else?
send out
Okay.
the dial in.
Yeah, we'll send it out. And again, if anybody gets on and you detect more than 3 of us on, just hit the mute button and just lurk there.
Yeah, I'm taking my husband to the doctor, so I can't make it.
Man, may I ask? You said he was injured. Was it a
Yeah.
fall? Oh
He
boy.
didn't fall. He just woke up with his knee blown up like a balloon, and the poor baby can hardly walk. He hasn't even come downstairs. He won't. He can't get out of bed.
It blew up. Is that a blood clot? Get him to the emergency
Well,
room.
I know that's the thing. I took him to an ortho, and the ortho hit him up with a steroid intra-articular injection. And I said, and I pointed out to the ortho that said, "Well, don't you think that seeing his leg is swollen from his groin to his toes, maybe there's something else going on?" And he said, "Oh, well, maybe you should take him to the primary care." And I said, "No shit, Sherlock." So that's
American medicine. Oh, God help us. Okay, good luck with that.
thanks.
Other than we've already heard about Falmouth, Jed, anything else in other towns?
No, I mean, there's very little going on. I checked around some of the other towns. Virtually nothing is really happening. The MLP in Falmouth doesn't have any meetings scheduled at this point. They just met once, elected new officers, and then they haven't met since. And nothing new from Falmouth Net since they publicly announced that they're doing the comparison study, but nothing else has been said.
Do they have a date on the comparison study at all? Any kind of a deadline?
There's no deadline. I know that I forget his name. One of the guys said that they were talking about August or September as when they were doing the contract, but when they said they signed the contract, there was no mention of a deadline.
Okay. Well, so we're not going to be informed by that anytime in the reasonable future. So, we're not going to be making decisions awaiting that. Okay, and as far as I can tell, and Jed, correct me if I'm wrong, I have not heard any big initiatives from other towns to try to get out the vote, so to speak, on testing.
Nothing, nowhere.
Wow. Opportunity missed. What can I say?
Can the Mass Broadband Coalition members take something home from the meeting tomorrow or this afternoon?
Okay.
I have not heard anything. They know that testing is going on, but I haven't heard anything beyond that. I will point out that certainly the Open Cape media packet, when it appears, is going to have information that certainly would be useful. Whether people should submit to Open Cape or the Cape Cod Commission when they're off Cape doesn't make any sense, but at least letting them know that the Jed's experience with the MBI tool seems to work.
Yeah,
and
why don't you just take the link to the MBI tool and spread it around at this meeting?
Yeah.
I think for now we should have the MBI tool going to skilled practitioners, so to speak, till we are sure it's ready for the general public, because there were some concerns flagged with it.
Well, again, if we're on, we ought to just point out to any of the towns that are on the coalition that this tool is on the blocks, almost ready to go. We're just trying to figure out some of the final details, or they are trying to figure out some of the final details, and just let people know that this is something that should be used and ought to be publicized.
Well, is there some reason why we can't publicize that link right now? I mean, I understand the concept of getting skilled users to give it a shot, because it's bound to have bugs in it or problems.
I don't see why not, because as Brian pointed out, they don't mind replicated data.
Yeah.
So the
Oh.
problem is going to be confusion. So, the MBI won't share with us who is submitting through their tool. So if it goes broadly and people are getting stuck and or they are not getting, speed tests where they need to be due to one thing or another, there's
Well,
no
then we
way for
don't.
us to interact with them.
Yeah.
So that's the risk of, bifurcating our audience if we share it widely instead of working with the commission and Open Cape to where we
But we
might have
have to get it
access.
out soon, if not like right now, but before 4th of July weekend.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
the testing period starts today, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah. We ought to just hand it to, the MBI tool, make sure the Broadband Coalition knows about it. They certainly do. I mean, they've got, Sean Gonsalves sits on that. He's watching this like a hawk.
Do we just send out both tools and tell people to use both of them and just?
Well, the difficulty with the other tool is that's all going to be aggregated. It's going to be data coming into the Cape Cod Commission, which is not empowered to do anything beyond the borders of Cape Cod specifically.
Mhm.
Okay, we asked them to with digital equity to include the Wampanoag Meeting House, which is 100 feet over the border into Plymouth, and they said no, that's another regional planning agency, not us, not our job. We can't do that. So I'm reluctant to send them something that involves data aggregation by the Cape Cod Commission. We can tell, we just let them know the MBI tool is there. If the I guess
Which
it's
one?
the speed
have-
testing tool.
The speed testing one. That's the long link that Jed put out. Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask both, just so that we'll have it, and only because I'm looking at Zoom on a cell phone and the other documents are on the laptop. Can you send me an email? Send both Brian and me an email with both of the links that. Well, Brian, you've got that other email. Just so we can potentially just forward that to everybody, whoever is on this call with the Broadband Coalition today.
I already have that.
What email you want forwarded?
Because I've made an email to send to myself, and I'll just send it to everybody right now.
Good, excellent.
Okay.
Okay.
Coming at you.
I think that is it for now. Does anybody? I think we really ought to meet next week. We're the week after that is the 4th of July, but I think we ought to meet next week and make sure we can get distribute the media kit or whatever else is needed. Start assembling CAI data, review the CAI information.
So I'm displaying a potential agenda here. So you have sub bullets under the B challenge that you're.
Well, I don't think we need anything. We don't need to subdivide it much more than that. I think we can leave it at that. The one thing I would put back on is the American Connection Corps intern. I have not heard back from Mark Forrest confirming that the county is in fact applying for that. I sent him an email. And if it turns out they're not, we ought to try to identify another home for that person. Another host, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah.
It all like the agenda otherwise.
Yeah, it looks fine to me.
And I've got it at 9 o'clock next Thursday.
9 o'clock next Thursday.
Okay.
Okay, folks. Many thanks. Like I said, if anybody has any spare time on Saturday afternoon, come on over to the Tuxet Museums and spell my voice here, because I'm sure if I say the same thing to 500 people, I'm not going to have much of a voice left.
What are the times, Bob, for that?
The Strawberry Festival is 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
10 to 3. Okay.
Yeah. And my guess is it may still be hot. It'll, people will be petering out towards that, especially if they run out of strawberry shortcake, before 3 o'clock. They'll let people know, and I think they'll just be free admission after that, and people probably will turn around as they have in the past. Okay. Thank you very much, folks.
What we do for
Thank you.
fun.
Very good.
All right,
Yep.
next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.